Hey everyone, happy Monday and welcome to another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. Let's jump right in and see what happened here. I'll talk about what Rafa worked on first, and if you saw the thumbnail for this video, then you'll know that we started fitting the Buggy body to its chassis. Those of you that follow the channel know that we finished the chassis many months ago. It's been kind of sitting back here in the corner, collecting dust as it is and waiting for the body. We got it probably maybe a couple weeks ago or so, back from paint from a fellow named Miguel in San Diego, who is the master of spraying this very coarse metal flake paint, especially on these dune buggies, and repairing fiberglass. And the dude is just a wizard with these things. He filled all the holes that we weren't using along the pan there. We left a couple just to line things up. There were holes all over the back of this thing. He filled all that stuff in. Left the ones that we wanted to use, like turn indicators and so on. But anyway, I've talked about all that before, so let me not belabor that. But yeah, the dude's amazing. Anyhow, so yeah, we started fitting the body to the pan today, and looks like it's actually a pretty good fit overall. The gap is a little bit big in the front here in the Napoleon hat area. Not too bad back here, a little bit, but we're going to use some combination of the body pan to body seals that actually are made by, or at least sold by, Myers-Manx themselves. And then maybe some like weather strip or something to help take up the gap, particularly up here. But it'll be nice and tight. Will it be a boat that floats? Maybe not quite that tight, but it'll be nice and tight. So anyway, as you can see, we did have to use a bar across here to spread this some, because when Rafa started looking at where the holes were going to end up bolting the body to the pan, okay in front, okay in back, although pretty close up to the edge. But then the ones along the middle here, the holes would have been pretty much like right on this radius right here, or even, like into it. So we can't have that. So pretty much put a porta power across here, which apparently is pretty normal for these, and spread the body a little bit in the middle here. So Jim, the owner of this car, he was actually by today, and we were chatting about this, and he said that Miguel, who again is the wizard of these bodies, he said sometimes they spread these things like 3 inches or something. We're nowhere near that. We're probably opening this up across the middle here, maybe half an inch, probably not an inch, somewhere in that range. So well within the range of what can be done on these bodies, and for them to kind of accommodate spreading them out like that. So remember, this body is 1968, so it's it's in its mid or late 50s. They warp and stuff over time. This body was bolted to a very wonky chassis for pretty much its entire life until we started the restoration process. So not surprising that it would be off a little bit. And I think these are like basically hand-laid fiberglass. So anyway, we will get it fitting good and it'll look amazing. So Rafa did that today, and then he did a few other things too. The back brakes weren't 100% assembled yet. I think he pretty much just had to connect the emergency brake cables, which again we had custom made, put the drums on, some little stuff like that. Just easier to do with the body off. So he did all that stuff in preparation for putting the body on it. We had the body off and on the car a few times today, kind of like looking at gaps, trying different combinations of the seals that go between the pan and body and stuff like that. So I think tomorrow it's going to go on for good, which is pretty exciting. And this build will start really moving along here pretty quick once the body and pan are bolted together. So that was pretty much Rafa's day. For myself, I'll come back to that. On the 67 Beetle, pretty much stripped the last things that I hadn't got to last week. So running boards came off today. The fender beading came out, and the fenders are kind of loose now, which is how our body guy likes to work on things. Some other things, the carpet that was left primarily up in the front here and on the sides, pulled that out, pulled out the floor mats. Found a little treasure in this car. Underneath the driver's side floor mat was an envelope. And when I opened that envelope up, it had 3 very crisp $50 bills in it. So apparently some previous owner, which could have only been one of a couple people because the current owner is only the third owner. Anyway, yeah, so he had a little stash of money in here, which is not a bad idea, actually, to carry a little cash with you and keep it hidden in your car. So yeah, I told the owner, hey, look what I found under here. He thought it was pretty funny, and he speculated it was probably the first owner based on the bank name and stuff that was on the envelope it was in. So kind of neat, little hidden treasure, little bonus for the owner of this car, $150 he didn't know he had. So there you go. Yeah, so pull those last few things off the car. And yeah, this thing is going to start body work next week, I believe. We had a good chat with our paint and body guy, the kind of the main guy that we use, and he said he's going to start next week. So this thing is really going to get underway very soon. So other than finishing stripping the body on the car, let me come back to the motor. So the motor, I had pulled it out last week, actually, and then it was just kind of sitting there. And so today I went ahead and stripped the motor down to a long block. Brian Roth at Roth Vintage, who's been building a lot of motors for us, he's going to drop by in the morning and pick up the long block, and then he can get started on it whenever his schedule allows. But yeah, I mean, it's oily and nasty. They pretty much always are. But Brian will make it brand new, and then we'll make it gorgeous with freshly powder coated tin and stuff, which brings me to this pile of parts here. So yeah, obviously stripped all the stuff off the engine and went through it all, cleaned it up a little bit. I mean, it's still a little greasy, but I don't like to bring things to powder coating that have like thick caked on stuff on them. They do degrease everything before they go into the blasting and stuff process prior to powder coating, but you know, I don't like to give anyone piles of parts that are or at least the powder coaters, I don't like to give them parts that are, you know, really nasty. So yeah, I spent some time kind of scraping these clean somewhat, and then went through and did some body work on them. This tin for this motor was almost as nice as it was for the 63 on that 40 horse. I think I mentioned on that video how nice that tin was. This was pretty close, very, very close to as nice. I mean, I probably did a little bit of body work, like hammer and dolly work, on probably like half the pieces here. And on those pieces, it was like maybe a couple little areas, nothing really bad. So yeah, when this stuff is powder coated, it's going to look bitchin'. This stuff is going to look like new. And yeah, we'll do the heater boxes in gray, the fan in gray, not that anyone can see it, and then the rest in the usual kind of semi-gloss black that we always do. And then in the meantime, I'll start going through and restoring some of the other components for the motor, generator, fuel pump, etc. So yeah, that stuff will kind of start moving right along too. So the last thing to talk about today is Jacob came in today. He was off school, so he came in kind of early and then left early so he could go to the beach and enjoy the day off with some friends. But he got his linkage all hooked up. So before, the crossbar was just kind of sitting on there, but the up and down rods weren't on. So we got those on, futzed around with those a little bit, got the linkage adjusted pretty nice. Seems like it's going to work nice and smooth. Did that, and him and Rafa made a nice fuel line for it, hard line here, and then we'll make another copper fuel line to go from the outlet of the pump. Probably follow this line here back to the back of the motor, and then from there we'll tee it off and go to both carburetors. So yeah, it'll look nice and clean. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what he got done today. So yeah, it's looking good, coming together nicely. So that is it for today, guys. Appreciate you watching, and we will see you again tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.